do that like with the timer thing over here, but
like one of those particular like 3, 2, 1 countdown.
Right. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Office Hours. I'm glad everyone made it. This is episode number 28, if I'm correct. We're talking about mental health. It's part of our mental health series. Excuse me. I believe we have two other episodes in that. I might be wrong. Time is an anomaly now, so I don't know when anything happens. But I'm Sto. Nora is over there, and yeah, we're going to talk about building a support system. But before that, make sure to leave a like. Leave an algorithmic comment. Any questions that you have, whether about this topic, other topics that we've talked about in the past, or what you want to see in the future. Yeah, Nora, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Welcome to Office Hours. We do this every first and third Tuesday of the month on YouTube. We're also on Instagram. We're also on Twitter. But Sto and I have been doing this for over a year now, trying to bring practical, useful information to independent artists. So if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Go back and check out some of our previous episodes. But today we're talking about, like Sto said, about building out a support system. And I think it's perfect timing because like Kyrie is in the news and he's talking about kind of the microaggressions that he experiences, and Naomi Osaka is in the news, and she just, for folks who don't know, said that she didn't want to do the press junket anymore because it gave her anxiety. And the French Open responded by saying, well, we're going to fine you, which is wild to me. So on two levels. One, because people love to say like Black Lives Matter and, oh, we really care. But when it comes down to showing and acting in a way that is caring, they go right back to these old ways. And so obviously we're seeing how the systems haven't changed. But it's just such a capitalistic thing to me to say that I'm struggling with my mental health, and the response is, we're just going to fine you. We're just going to fine you. We're just going to fine you. Rather than saying, all right, how can we support you? How can we uplift you? And I know, Sto and I talk a lot about like athletes and NBA and stuff, but it's not different in the music industry, where
Right.
we see all the time someone who is struggling and they say, well, you still got to go on tour, or you still have to meet these obligations, or you still have to X, Y, and Z. And just as we're talking, I wonder if like we start introducing a mental health clause into people's contracts that say that like you get indefinite time off, or I don't know. I think there's ways around it, but really thinking about how critical these things are, not just to our output, like take care of your mental health so you can produce and do the things that society expects you to do, but so that you can be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting talking about all the Black Lives Matter and all these other movements and stuff like that, where, especially in this case, really not that difficult to be like, okay, take your time off. We'll see you when we see you. Like, not that difficult, not that hard to show any type of sympathy or whatever. But here we are once again. Like, no, like you said, we're not just gonna not let you take your break, but we're gonna fine you and we're gonna threaten expulsion. That's ridiculous. Obviously, same with the Kyrie stuff. Like, listen, this is like, obviously me and Nora talk NBA stuff, sports stuff all the time. This is obviously a lot bigger than those companies. So even with Kyrie, with people saying all types of crazy stuff and whatever, like, that's completely unacceptable. And especially given, again, you're not giving these athletes or whoever the platform to actually protect themselves from all of this stuff that's being said. So if you're not going to let them retaliate, which listen, I'm gonna be real. I mean, we talk about mental health, but you throw some popcorn on me, it's over. So if you're not going to provide them that space to actually express themselves, and especially in both of their cases where they didn't lash out, they didn't say anything crazy, they didn't even say anything against the league or anything like that to warrant a fine, let alone not even giving them the chance to like defend their own mental health. Like, it's insane. So
yeah. Shout out to Serial Sensei, who's here, who says even my little old job gave us a mental health day because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're lucky enough to be in a job where you have paid time off, where you have mental health, take it.
Yeah.
Use your time off. Like, I remember when I was working for other people and I was like, oh, well, I should save my days off. Save my days off for what?
Bro,
For who?
that's what my mom does. And I'm just like, what are you
Like,
doing?
I think about it now. I'm like, why? For what? So, anyways, we're gonna get into all that today. Please, if you are struggling with mental health, there's a number in the description below where you can access resources. You can always reach out to me. I will help you find resources. Um, it's okay not to be okay, and it's also okay to ask for help. Um, and maybe this is a place to start the conversation for today. So, because I think in music especially, there's so many narratives around doing things on your own.
Yeah.
I made it by myself. I got here alone. Like, I don't trust anybody. Like, all this weird stuff that we say about like celebrating aloneness. And so I'm curious how you see then the struggle with like wanting and needing and building support systems. How do those things go together?
Well, I think a lot of it, I want to preface by saying, like, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the general public doesn't understand that this is still a job for us. Like, wherever you are in the industry, I don't care if you're an artist, producer, engineer, mixer, performer, curator, whatever, doing artist development, marketing, promotion, ads. I don't care what it is. Like, we feel that like a degree of stress and I don't know. I guess just like, and again, especially in the music industry where it's like, if you don't do it yourself, there's no one out there that's gonna like help you or whatever. So, I think a lot of this, like, I don't trust nobody, and all this, like, I think it kind of comes from that, and I think it stresses why having some version of a support system is important, because a lot of us are dealing with, at least within the industry and even outside of it, are dealing with a lot of the same stuff, the same stresses, the same, yeah, we got to work 25 hours, 8 days a week, like no breaks, even on the holidays. And it's like, I can't even front. Like, I'm still working, trying to figure out how to get myself out of that. But again, I think even that comes from, wanting to provide, like, or having to provide every single month. And, in a lot of us kind of came from not having a lot. So now that we have it, we're not trying to lose it. So we got to make sure we work, so we don't lose any of that. But I think a lot of the outside and the general public kind of miss that. So that, I think, in itself causes a lot of us to isolate and like kind of, say XYZ. But like I said, I think that's why it's so important that we have conversations like this and say, like, yo, like, yeah, like, it's not easy being in the music industry. Yeah. We don't need to work 25 hours, 8 days a week. Like, it's okay to take breaks, especially in an industry where it's like, I think about this all the time, where like, even if you're an artist and you're submitting records or whatever, like, I'm someone who takes rejection super personally. So if I'm getting that email that says like, yo, we didn't pick your track, I'm like, damn, that sucks. Then you go over to festivals or whatever, you apply there, you get an email back, you didn't get in. Damn, that sucks too. So it's just like, and that's just one example. Like, all that stuff can kind of pile up. And if you don't have that system around you, or, aren't in the best space, like, it can derail things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in some ways, like, music is really communal, but it's also really easy to be like, as a producer, you're in your room working on your computer. Exactly. And like, you're not interacting. And I think especially with the pandemic, so there is that pressure of, like, I work with so many artists who are like, I produce, engineer, mix, like, do everything myself.
Everything, yeah.
Easy to kind of get in this, like, we go in our shells or we get in this cave. But I think there's also something around, culturally, we think it's weak to want to be in community with other people.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're needy. Oh, like, you're not
someone
strong
helped you.
Like,
yeah.
And I want to be really clear, like, there's a stigma about wanting or craving connection. And I just want to be really clear, that's bullshit.
Right.
Like, that's such nonsense. As human beings, we are communal creatures. Like, since the beginning of time, we exist and live in community. And whether it's because you want to create a great album or because your heart just needs to connect with someone, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a failure on your part. It's not a shortcoming. It's not a weakness. Like, it's absolutely perfectly normal to want to connect with people. And so I think just being able to name that gives people permission, like changes the way we approach one another versus like, oh, nah, man, I don't need anyone. I got this. Well, if that's how you move in the world, you will consciously or not reject people, right? If you're moving in the world with your walls up and your guard up and all these things, you're not creating space for people to reach out, connect, to build that support system. And so I think one of the first things I would invite people to think about as we're having this conversation is, how are the ways, or what are the ways in which you're creating barriers around yourself that make it hard for people to support you, that make it hard for people to connect with you? And it looks different for all of us, I think. I know for me, it was for a long time just like not allowing myself to be vulnerable at all. Well, then who wants to, like, what, I'm this machine? Like, no one wants to connect with that. And the more I allowed myself to like soften, the more I found spaces to connect and people reached out and all that kind of stuff. So that's one place where I would offer, like, for people to really think about is, where are the ways that you can soften so that people can reach out? Like, where can you create openings? But are there other reasons, so that you think the support system is important, or things that we're missing?
Well, I think it just kind of comes down to, like, having some damn backup. It's every day, especially like, whether, I know we have some freelancers watching this right now as well, where it's like, you spend a lot of time, by yourself and stuff like that. So it can be difficult to reach out to others and stuff like that, combined with the fact that, especially in our industry, and again, any industry really, like, you run into people that break your trust or hurt you or whatever. So, like, I understand why people have barriers up and stuff like that, and I think it's okay to be careful, and it's okay to have, to be protective and stuff like that. But I really think it comes down to, like, when you have a support system that's actually there for you, it's a completely different universe. And, I know for myself, like, I don't know, we can talk about, like, how to actually create the support system, like, later in the episode. But I know I've had times where it's like, okay, I thought so-and-so was part of my support system, but they really weren't. So now I'm like, damn, I'm super guarded. I ain't open up to nobody. So I think it's important to, like you said, have those openings to allow at least new people to come in and build those relationships with, versus closing everybody off.
Right. And I think that is part of, and I just want to welcome everyone who's hanging out with us. Feel free to introduce yourselves, tell us what's on your mind, tell us, y'all know how it is. We like this to be interactive. So use the chat. And if you're watching this later and have thoughts, drop them in the comments. I think a big part of this, even when we talk about building support systems, we think externally, like, right? It's how do I say this? So much of connecting with other people really has to do with your relationship with yourself. And so if you trust yourself, it doesn't matter what other people do, because ultimately you know that you're good. So I'm going to reach out to you. If you turn out to be a terrible human being, I trust myself enough to protect myself.
And know that it's not on you.
And to know that it's not on me, that their behavior is not a reflection of my worth, my value, who I am, what I mean in the world.
That's important. It's not a reflection on you. If someone crosses you, if someone does you wrong, that's not your fault. You're putting your best foot forward. So, don't punish yourself for that. I see a lot of people do that sometimes. Sorry, Nora, keep going.
No. I think that's really important, because we take it and we personalize it, and then we put these walls up and we say, because you hurt me, I'm not going to let anyone else hurt me. But we're expecting, like, we can't control other people's behavior, right? So part of this building a support system is saying, I know that I'm so good within myself that I can continue to make myself vulnerable, that I can continue to reach out, I can continue to take the risk. And no matter what that other side does or that other person does, I know that I'll be okay.
Right.
And it's just such a different way of saying, I'm so dependent on, or their answer is going to like throw my world into a whirlwind. It's
Right.
not to say that like it's not going to hurt, it's not going to be tough. I don't want to minimize
Right.
it in any way, but the more you've done that kind of self work, the more you have healthy boundaries in place, then the easier you can reach out to someone from an anchored place where you know you're going to be good and you're going to be self-contained. And so I think that's part of the conversation maybe we don't talk a lot about, is we tell people like, go find a mentor, go do this thing, but we don't talk about the foundation upon which those kinds of relationships can be built.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely agree. So I think it's, again, I think that, you know, especially after with things opening up and stuff like that, I think it can be very difficult to kind of like let your guard down and whatnot. And again, I'm still working on that myself, so I totally understand. But you know, when, like, unfortunately, what ends up happening, right, is like if you end up walling yourself off and kind of attributing other people's qualities to all your new relationships, you know, it kind of burns those bridges before you even get a chance to walk across them, I feel like. So, you know, it's okay to like Nora said, sometimes you're going to be hurt from those circumstances, and that's totally okay. Like, take that time for yourself and heal up, honestly. But, you know, get back out there as well.
Sounds like dating advice.
I'm just realizing that's not what I'm saying. But
that's a whole other episode.
Right. So yeah, that support is still important in finding and getting in where you fit in. Like it really can change, not just how you feel about yourself, but how you move within the industry and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think about it even when, like the other day where I tweeted something and the people that I was talking about did not like it, even though I wasn't wrong and it was accurate and there was an email to prove it. And then they were like creating fake accounts. Anyways, it was stressful. And so what did I do? I reached out to Sto and I was like, hey, I'm stressing out about this. And you talked me through it. And if I didn't have a support system, like there's all these little things that we deal with throughout the day in the industry. And there's all these microaggressions. And if you don't have your safe spaces to go to and process with and allow someone who can mirror something or reflect something or be like, man, just go eat some ice cream, don't even think about it, or try approaching it this way or whatever. This isn't an industry to be alone in, is really
exactly
the best way to say it. And all the hype about competition, like that's not true. If you even look
not even a little bit,
our favorite artists, the most successful folks are all part of some kind of collective, right? They're part of, look at like TDE or whatever, like the idea of working together, working collaboratively, leaning on each other, sharing resources is good for your mental health. It's also good for your professional well-being. And as freelancers, especially. So, okay, let's get into this. How do you build that support system?
Again, I'm not a pro at this even a little bit, and I'm still trying to figure out like my way around as well. But I really do think, like, you know, this is gonna sound strange, but my mom used to say this all the time. Like, take some time to kind of like observe first. I feel like, and again, I used to be the same way, like, where it's like, oh, like, I don't feel like I have a lot of people near me. I'm just gonna latch on to the first person who like actually listens to what I have to say about the music industry or stresses that I'm dealing with, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily, you know, mean that person should be a part of your system. You know, take some, and that's the other thing I'll say is like, we talked about mentors earlier. I feel like a lot of people can kind of look at social media, and because of how they're presenting themselves on social media, they think, oh yeah, I definitely want to be mentored by this person. And like in some cases that can be, you know, accurate, but in some cases you're really just getting a percentage of what someone is. So, you know, basing that mentorship and that what will be a very serious relationship based on someone's social media can be a little risky. So that's why I say observe first. Like, even if you know, if you're working with these people or whatever, ask questions like, see how they react. Like, that's what I do, honestly. I see how people react to, like, or not react, but how they treat others. Like, it's really cool to go online and be like, oh yeah, they're all verified and they have all these numbers and they look like they're cool to work with and they met so and so. But when you're actually working with the person and trying to get stuff done, it's a completely different ball game. The only example I'm going to use real quick is like when I was writing for a certain website that I thought was all for Black people and pushing us forward and really like moving us up. I remember kind of falling for like, oh, so and so is leading this site and like, it looks like they're doing all these types of things that I want to do. So I want that mentorship or whatever. But then you end up working with the person, you realize it's something completely different, based off of assumptions I made. So, and then from there, anything can happen. So again, I say start with observing, and then when building a community, usually it's people that you're already working with and stuff like that. So it's just really having that conversation and really talking about those deeper topics, because it's not just like a mental health support system or whatever is like, it's serious. It's big time. You don't just want to let anybody in because it's your mental health. It's everybody's mental health at stake here. So, I think building up to actually growing it into a support system is important instead of just latching on.
Well, and it doesn't have to always be so serious.
That too, right.
Like you can start with, I think sometimes when we think about support systems, we think about like, who's going to be like my therapist and who can I, which yes,
right,
totally important, but also like, you like basketball, who can you call to talk about the game? Right. Where's the group chat that you're talking shit about the last UFC fight you watched? Like it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Find the places where people share common interests, common values, common topics. And one way to start building that system is by participating.
Yeah.
So many of us passively consume, but start participating. Like people don't know that you exist, especially in virtual spaces, unless you say something.
Right.
And this is the part where you have to do the thing that feels a little bit risky and put it out there. Right? Say something, talk back to people, get into the DMs and say, hey, I'm really interested in this thing. Can we talk more? And be really intentional about cultivating the relationship. We talk about this in networking a lot, but it's the same thing when you're building like these kind of social systems and support systems is if you don't let someone know that you're interested in being friends,
they're not going to know.
It ain't going to happen. And so, exactly. And so participating means like posting the post, commenting, calling, texting, DMing, like all these ways where you reach out and start to establish that contact, but also then being explicit about, hey, does anyone like to read? I want to start a book club.
Right.
Hey, like any sneakerheads out there, like let's talk, whatever it might be. And so part of that is building for yourself the kind of community that you want to be a part of.
Absolutely.
It doesn't exist if you can't find it. In the same way that you're calling people to, come to your listening party or watch the music video or whatever it might be, you can build social systems in the same way. Host the game night.
Right.
We used to get on Zoom and play Among Us. Like, create these things where people can come and just have fun. Serial Sensei says, I've lucked up into finding a good support system. As long as you can build genuine connections, it just kind of happens. And that's
exactly. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah. And this is the part we've been talking about is like when you trust yourself and you just show up as you are rather than pretending, right? Oh, I'm such a big star. I have so many followers, like all these things. When you let go of all of those like masks that we wear, people can see you for who you really are and you reach out and you connect and then boom.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a star at all times. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, it's really important to come as yourself. That's so important. Because I think, and I talk to a lot of people, whether it's artists or otherwise, who sometimes feel they cannot show up as themselves. And like, I just want to preface this by saying, like, if you enter a group or assist or what you believe to be a support system, and your peers or your support system do not take you as you are, that is on them. That is their issue. It is not on you to fix that group. It is not on you to repair that. It's time to bail out and get in where you fit in, because you're going to stress yourself out and burn yourself out trying to get people to shift their thinking when they're already somewhere completely different that you don't even want to be a part of. So I just preface that by saying, like, it's okay to, like, actually be yourself and be with people who allow you to be yourself.
You know, what that makes me think about too is sometimes it's only just one step towards getting to the real support system.
Right.
So you go to an event and you meet some people, they're cool, you think y'all are going to be friends, maybe you decide they're actually not right for you, but through them you meet someone else, and that person, like, it's not always, so it's a process of like trial and error in terms of finding your people, finding your community, building that support system. And there's no shortcuts to it.
Right, that too.
You know, like, I wish, and you know, I mean, there's apps and stuff. I was going to say, I wish there was a store and you could go and like find a friend, but that's what the apps are for. So, you know, it's putting yourself, what we keep coming back to, right, is like putting yourself out there. But then there's also places like Meetup. There's places like, there's support groups. There's tons of support groups. There's AA communities. There's Al-Anon. There's CODA. There's, you know, support groups for domestic violence. There's all kinds of places that maybe isn't people you know, and maybe isn't music industry specific. But if there's something that's on your mind, that's in your heart, that you're trying to work through, there's probably a community out there for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the risky part is making that phone call, going to a meeting, showing up on Zoom. But, you know, that's the part about showing up, doing the work, participating, and then allowing those relationships to grow gradually.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more.
I wish we had like more concrete, easy answers for y'all.
Yeah.
But like the real thing with building a support system is it takes time, and I want to acknowledge what we're saying is not as easy as it sounds. If you're struggling with anxiety, if you're struggling with depression, I know how hard it is to get up and go to the thing, or to send the message, or so find the place that feels comfortable for you. Right.
It's okay to go one step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time. Find the thing that's easy. Maybe there's someone that you're like, oh, I like their vibe. Maybe all you do is like send a message, or you send a comment. And, you know, it doesn't have to be all of these things. Take the step. If you have, like, I have a dog. We go to the dog park. We start to see the same people over again. That's a place where I can find community. You play basketball at the park. You go to a yoga, you know.
Right.
Part of it is starting to give yourself, by yourself, the things you like to do. Yeah. And then by doing that, you'll find like-minded people. So this goes back to what I was saying around like doing the self-work. And leaning into, well, I'm just going to go do this thing that I like by myself, will allow people to connect with you. I just have to share this because King Push, the best dog ever. But, you know, it's do things that you enjoy. And you'll find people. But I just want to acknowledge, I know it's not easy. And I know it's hard. And I know that when you feel alone and isolated, and here's one thing I would also invite you to do, is make a list of the people that you know you can reach out to. Right. Have it written down somewhere. So when you are in those moments of loneliness, anxiety, depression, struggling, like, oh man, I don't have anyone to talk to, you can literally fact check your brain. Right. Look at the list and say, well, no, you do. No, exactly. Or people you can call. So that, you know, because our mind does play tricks on us, and it's looking out for us, it's trying to protect us from getting hurt, but sometimes it's wrong. And so that's another thing I would invite y'all to take away from today's episode is make a list of who your support system is already. and make a list of people that you'd like to build a relationship with, and be a little intentional about that. Because what I've found is there's more people out there to support you than you actually think.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We like dismiss people who are more than happy to be there for us. And
Right.
so if I was to give y'all homework, the homework is write down your support system list.
Exactly. Yeah. We're coming up on a half hour here, so it's been a minute, but we appreciate everyone for coming through and hanging out with us. Honestly, if you are having issues finding a support system or are looking to build one, leave a comment below. People, we don't take a hardcore look at the statistics, but people are coming through all the time looking to build with people and looking to build those genuine relationships. So, use the comments down below. There's tons of apps, whether Discord or even Twitch, stuff like that you can use to kind of communicate with each other and stuff like that. So, but also, again, be patient with yourself. It's a process. None of this happens overnight. And again, I'm not speaking as like, yes, I definitely know how to start a support system and I do it perfectly. No, I'm still working on it. So, but be patient with yourself. Do things that you enjoy, and allow things to flow naturally. Because the other thing I'll say is that you're already an awesome person. You don't have to be changing stuff to fit in with other people. Cyril Sensei says Discord is great too. Yeah, I love Discord.
Wait, sorry, I didn't want to distract from what you said though, because I think I want to make sure people hear that. You are already an awesome person.
Right. So you don't have to be changing yourself and doing all this stuff to fit in with other people. If they don't accept you for who you are, bail out. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve you, period. So get in where you're loved, get in where you fit in, because that's where you're going to find that support and stuff like that.
Yeah. And know that Office Hours is here. Like, I'm here for you. Like, we genuinely care. And so if nothing else, don't ever hesitate or be shy about reaching out to us and letting us know how we can help you. This is kind of an example. Like, both, I think Sto and I were like, fuck how ego, cloudy, competitive the industry is. Like, we rejected all of that, found each other, built a relationship over time through Twitter and all, y'all know our story. And now here we are. We built the thing we wanted for ourselves. And I think, I think we attract people to Office Hours who get it and who align. So don't be shy about reaching out to one another as allies in the support system and friends and colleagues and peers and all that kind of stuff. Because even in our little community, there's so much like-mindedness. And actually, we saw that in the last episode when we played 20 questions, and the chat was just blown up, being like, "What? Me too? Yeah."
Right.
So, hopefully, if nothing else, we can offer y'all that. So, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, drop it in the comments below. Share this episode with a friend. Subscribe. Not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after our next episode, we're talking about music videos and kind of the visual elements of the music business. So tune in to Office Hours with Nora and Sto. Final words, Sto?
Yeah, we appreciate you all for coming through. Make sure to leave a like. That really helps us out, gets us out to more people. We'll be back in 2 weeks with talking about graphics and video and stuff like that. Check us out all over the place. We're literally doing something once a week now. So we're gonna be on your feed somewhere. So we hope that you'll join us, and honestly share the episode if you can. That'd be we'd really appreciate that. So it's been episode 28. We'll be back with 29 here on June, I'm guessing 14th, but I might be wrong about that. 2 Tuesdays from now. All right, y'all get it. All right, get a damn website. Take care of yourself. Drink some damn water. I already know some of y'all dehydrated out here.
Do something good for yourself. Do something good for yourself. Love on yourself.
That too.
We'll see y'all next.